Hello and welcome back to Curious Faith, questions and conversations for those thinking about following Jesus. I am your host, Bill Wallace, and I'm so glad you continue to go along on this journey with us, asking great questions and just learning a whole lot from the folks who join us on that ride. I'm very, very excited about our topic here today. We've got a special guest, only one. We'll talk about why that is here as well. But yeah, I think it's going to be a really, really neat conversation. Can't wait to see where it goes. So we are still in the land of COVID. So give me just a moment. We'll get my mask on and we'll invite our guest in. All right. There we go, and hello.
Here I am.
And there you are. Hey, how you doing?
I'm well.
Excellent.
I'm well. I just
LinkedIn. I've got some pretty cool towers, actually. It works out very well.
I'm sure they must come in handy.
They do.
Yeah.
They do. Yes, yeah. Especially when you can't go anywhere, right? That's been really good. Do you want to introduce yourself for any of our guests who may not know you?
Sure. My name is Mike. Mike May. I'm a pastor. I serve at Lamb of God in Lake Stevens, Washington. And I don't know. Is that more, less?
No, that's
too late for less.
We've crossed that bridge.
Yes.
On we go. This is your third time joining us.
I think it is, yes.
Yeah, thanks so much. I appreciate that.
Love to do these.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I love having you here, and I'm excited about what we're going to do today. So actually, we do a little get-to-know-you question each time, so we've gotten to know you a little bit on previous ones. So today's question really is, all right, you can only have one. All right.
Okay.
And we're going to stick in the movie universe because I know your background actually is deeper than that. All right. So you can have the Marvel Cinematic Universe, you can have the Star Wars universe, or you can have the Lord of the Rings universe, movies only. Which would you choose?
Marvel. Hands down.
Hands down.
Hands down.
Not even.
Well, I mean, it's not that I don't have love for those other things.
Sure. But
yeah. Yeah. I think we talked about Endgame too, not all that long ago.
Yeah.
And it's just fabulous, so satisfying. And typically, nerdy comic book people are the hardest people to satisfy, right? We're worst movie ever.
Right?
Yeah, and they were cheering both times that I went and saw it in theaters. Just, terrific.
Oh. Excellent. I completely agree. Particularly from an Endgame standpoint, I've said this and I will continue to say this. In my opinion, it still was the best picture of the year. It should have won the Oscar for the best picture of the year because it was the most impossible movie.
Yeah.
Again, how are you going to make everyone happy? How are you going to have 50 movie stars in one movie?
Yeah, that one at the end, the most expensive shot in movie history.
I mean, just truly, from that standpoint, And we always think, best picture has to be deep and heavy and all this other stuff like that. No, sometimes nailing something like that is infinitely harder.
Oh, yeah.
Than getting 5 great actors to do a great scene together. I mean, yeah, that's tough, but no.
Like the way Hitchcock never got any respect through his career.
Oh, my God.
That's not a respectable genre.
Right, yeah. Psycho, anybody can do that.
Oh, anybody,
right.
Surely, anybody.
North by Northwest.
Yeah,
Child's Play.
Planes chasing Cary Grant.
Right.
What are you thinking?
Right. Well, that gets into our topic here for today. I'm very excited about this, and we'll talk around things a little bit. All kinds of stuff kind of going on. The question for today is, what did Jesus know, and when did he know it? And really the question is, who was more powerful, baby Jesus or baby Yoda?
Okay.
There we go.
So, I suppose in a sense, Baby Yoda is like 50.
Yeah. That's her range. They say actually in Mandalorian, right? How old he is. So
yeah, I mean I think that's ballpark. But Baby Jesus, in a sense, is time. like as old as time.
Right.
So
yeah,
I'd have to go advantage baby Jesus. I'm gonna stick with that.
So the roundabout way of talking about all this is, I think one of the great, interesting conversations, and I think it is an interesting conversation, is to talk about, what did Jesus know and when did he know it? When you really start to go down that path, it is fascinating to think about. For those of us who live in the Christian world, we see Jesus as fully God and fully human at the same time.
Right.
And when you start to talk about what that means, just in kind of normal terms, it becomes a really, really challenging kind of conversation. And the reason why I joke why it's just you here, the reality is people have been having these types of conversations for the better part of about 2,000 years. And depending on how you had that conversation, people would call you a heretic and burn you at the stake, depending on what you said. So I thought, well, we know each other and like each other, so if anybody
but it's just us here,
it's just us.
Yeah.
So if anybody says anything that's a heresy from 1,600 years ago, no one will know. It'll just be us amongst friends.
Right. Well, my thought is that I can always recant.
Yes,
and I absolutely will.
Right. If anybody,
any of the thought police come, I am fully prepared to recant at any given moment. Yeah, I actually brushed up. I found my systems. Well, it was Systems 1 and 2 spiral notebook.
Wow.
Because I was the only guy. It wasn't that long ago, but I was certainly the only guy in class with a
That's
pencil.
still a spiral notebook.
And actually copying stuff down, and everybody else is, I think, managing their fantasy football team is what they're actually doing. I brushed up on some of the heresies that are out there, and some of them were fascinating to me, and some of them I thought, is this really all you have to do with your time?
Right.
The going to the mat over certain things, I thought, really. But some of them were important.
Yeah.
I have already forgotten who was responsible for which, but the fully divine, not really human at all, the Mayo something or another, drop of milk in the ocean that essentially says Jesus' humanity is completely absorbed by his divinity. It sounds, you could make a pretty good argument for that. What is a fully human person in the universe? It averages to nothing. Yeah. And that was the guy's point. But Gregory, one of the early church fathers, says, no, Jesus had to be fully human, completely human, which includes a human soul, because he does not redeem what he does not become. And that, to me, that was important. Yeah. Because I don't want him just to redeem my body, but my soul as well. So that was important. But then the fact that the next little logical step from there is that if that's true, he has a human soul and a divine soul, and I thought, then he dies. Yeah. I mean, what happens? I remember just being horrified by that for a short period of time. Yeah. But then what happens to anyone's soul? It's a little bit of a rabbit hole. Yeah.
Well, and that's it, exactly. Again, for people who are already thinking about tuning us out and they're like, oh my gosh, this is deep dive stuff.
Pull us back.
Pull us back. But I think that's it. For people, particularly people who maybe didn't grow up within a Christian faith, when you start to talk about some of this Jesus stuff, that is really important to certain folks. From the outside looking in, it can be like, well, why does that matter? What I want to know is, could Jesus have spoken German when he was 5? Right. Because, if he's fully God and he's the creator of the universe, that would make sense, right? That you should be able to do that. But then how does he do that? Or is he not? And so on and so forth. And that's why actually those things do matter. When you have those types of questions, I think they're great questions because they lead to some of the big ideas about what Jesus is. I want people to ask, could Jesus have walked on water in the bathtub, as Mary's trying to give him the bath, and he's
or
like,
the sink, wherever Mary
gets. No, I'm not going in. No, get down. All right. I mean,
now it's wine.
But I think those are the questions that, they lead to really cool stuff if we let people ask them, and that's part of it for me.
Yeah. Okay, so speaking of that, I actually brought the book. I don't want to.
I brought Baby Yoda. You brought a theology book.
Well, no, it's this is back in the day. There were actually libraries in churches. I don't know that there are anymore.
Wow.
But
how old are you? That's
yeah. Books, I guess, yeah, we could just start with that. And every church library I ever went to had a collection.
Yep.
I don't know if Barclay was just on sale.
I'm completely with you.
Yeah, so
Every church. Yep.
I happened to find one of these, and I read it, my goodness, 25 years ago. And I remember when I read it, it struck me the exact same way. He's talking about Jesus at the temple, so he's 12 years old. Mm-hmm. And he said, at some time, Jesus must have discovered his own unique relationship to God. He cannot have known it when he was a child in the manger and a baby at his mother's breast, or he would be a freak. And I remember that exact phrase, he would be a freak. As the years went on, he must have had thoughts, and then in his first Passover with his manhood dawning, et cetera, et cetera. And my first thought when I read that was, when are you not a freak? I mean, at what age is it natural to find out, to discover that you have divine powers?
Yeah.
So I guess from there, I have to say, yeah, he was fully God and fully knew it in whatever way. Because if you don't... I guess if you wrestle with this, like he seems to be wrestling with it, it's like he thinks that at some age we could handle that.
Right.
Right? That view puts God in such a small box that, you know, as an infant, there's no way he could handle the God powers.
No, yes,
but as an adult, surely.
As a normal 14-year-old boy.
Right.
Like he would surely.
You know, between the comic books and the movies, it just reeks of, when does his mutant powers manifest themselves?
Yes.
And that's
a great pull. Yeah, for those people that know the X-Men series in particular.
Right.
Yes.
And it's puberty, so it really kind of matches right there.
Yeah.
So yeah, that for me, I think when you start thinking of it like that, it just... God's too small. Jesus then becomes way too small. Mm-hmm. He can't really do anything, but he can do a whole lot.
Yeah.
But, you know, we could imagine ourselves doing those kind of things.
Right, yeah.
And that's folly. It's just, I don't like where that heads.
Yeah. My son Peyton and I did a podcast a little while back about kind of, does the superhero savior that we have seen in so many things, does it help us understand Jesus or hurt us? And our thought was that it actually does help us in some ways, because it does. It helps us unlock. Again, we've seen Tony Stark die for the whole world. You know, we've seen we've seen these people that have done that. In some ways, it's actually given a little bit of comic flesh to something that we see in Jesus. But there's that piece to it. You know, it can give us a glimpse of the reality, but the reality is still infinitely bigger, and it's hard because we've done such a good job of that. You know, because Endgame is so good, because we've watched Robert Downey Jr. for 25 movies or however many it was at the end of that. The impact of him making that sacrifice is powerful.
And do people know that have you just spoiled that movie
in case everyone?
Lori, don't watch this podcast. I think Tony's going to make it. He's going to be all right.
Right? Yeah. It's all good.
For at least Iron Man 4, 5, and 6.
Yes. At least, and his daughter is 5.
Yeah.
Woo.
She won't miss him.
No, it'll be good.
All good.
But right?
Yes. And I mean, you say that, and I think C.S. Lewis and Chronicles of Narnia,
Yep.
He introduces Aslan, not so that would be the be-all, end-all. I think there's a line out of the books where he says, you have to leave this place and get to know me in my fuller form, get to know me more deeply. And what he's saying is, this was a fun fantasy land.
Right, yeah.
But when you get back home, you need to look up Jesus.
There's more. There's so much more. Yeah. Fascinating stuff. Good stuff. So let's dance on one of these things just a little bit again, because I think these are the challenging things when we talk about Jesus. Again, what did Jesus know and when did he know it? Yeah, one of the big struggles I think within the church world is, all right, so he's just a normal person, more or less, a more, holy person, a more divine person that then gets adopted by God, at some point, gets adopted by God and now can die and become the savior of the world. And
So a man who becomes God.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I think we see that one a lot. Or, again, he is fully God, totally God, and therefore not really a person. Is in kind of a person body, but is, I don't know, Martian Manhunter or shapeshifter, or something like that. That just, I think for so many people that makes so much more sense to understand. Because again, I get that. That makes sense. Oh, okay. Well, yeah, God can't be us, so that makes sense.
Right. God can't die.
Yeah. Right.
God can't suffer.
Yeah. The creator of the universe?
Right.
Like, that's not
all-powerful?
Yeah.
That means he can't change,
yeah.
even.
How could that possibly be true? That's the crux, I think, for a lot of people, and they try to figure out this Jesus stuff. Well, he's got to be, one of those has to be true.
Yeah.
And yet...
Or both.
Right? Then we come along and we're like, no, it's...
Yeah, or neither. Both and neither.
Yeah.
I think that the first one, the man who becomes God, maybe the biggest fault with that, besides, I don't think it's true.
Yeah.
So there's that. But there's
in case
also,
the heresy police are listening right now, we'll say that one, right?
Yeah. but it also makes not just God small, it makes our sin small. Because if Jesus can do that, if a normal man, even a really good man, can become divine just through his behavior, then I can too. Which means that my sin isn't really serious because I can solve that problem myself.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much the antithesis of...
and we can really walk down that road. I think what you said right there is exactly it. Both outside of the church and within the church, I can fix this on my own.
Yeah.
Is exactly what we proclaim, particularly in America, right?
Right. And even after we get done talking about how Jesus died for my sins, but he didn't really need to.
Yeah.
That's what our lives say. That's certainly what our actions say. Yeah. The other one, I think, denies God's love for us. That he would kind of be God in a man suit. Basically, just pretending the Martian Manhunter, or whatever, a little shape-shifting, a little light, and acting really on the cross.
Yeah, right.
Too, right?
That's all magic at some point. Oh no, this is
that
terrible.
Hurt so much.
Yeah.
And the fact that he went there and actually did suffer on our behalf. Why would you do that? Profound love. Overwhelming love.
Yeah. Which, again, this podcast will be coming out right before Easter. That is it. That's the story. That is the full story. As much as I love Christmas, and it's a great part. For me, Easter has always been my favorite holiday. It's always been the day that impacts me the most, because it is that. I truly. I don't just say this as a pastor. I truly weep every Easter morning during the opening song, no matter what song it is, because every morning on Easter it hits me again. How much Jesus loved me, how much God loved me in order to get to that point.
Yeah, this is Endgame. It's all of the Marvel Cinematic Universe leading to that. All of God's really plan leading to Easter. Yeah. If you take it seriously, I suppose I shouldn't be surprised. How can it not hit you like that?
Yeah. Which, as a side note, is really awkward then when I have to get up and preach and stuff afterwards.
Yeah. Well, lately, Jan has. We've had this little competition where I'll try to end with a really powerful something, and then he has to come on and play afterwards. Now we have message songs, and he's used my children against me. He'll have one of my kids singing, right? So it's really some powerful song, and it'll just be like, okay, time for the message now. You can't just think hateful thoughts before you go and preach. But man, it's a fun competition.
That's good stuff. Good stuff. So yeah, again, assuming then, and to be clear, I think you and I are on the same page that we do see Jesus as God and as person at the same time, and again, all powerful and somehow created the universe beyond time, all those things like that. It leads to questions like, then why didn't he use his powers all the time? Why did he not? I mean, silly stuff, yeah. Walk on water just for fun, Why did he not do that? And of course, then it gets deeper. Why didn't he heal everybody that he could? Why didn't he save, people from some of the suffering that they had? All those things like that.
Right.
I think that's the question that drives that. Well, if Jesus knew, then why didn't he do it?
Yeah, and why? I mean, I think, and we get a really different view of him, I think, than, say, the disciples did. I think we read the Bible and we're thinking of Jesus as God, and it seems, you read something like Triumphal Entry comes in and tells the disciples, hey, you'll find a guy carrying water, follow him. There's a donkey, never been ridden.
Yeah.
And you think, well, this is all prophecy. And I actually think Jesus probably just arranged this, at some prior date, like a normal human would do. And he's just telling them, it's the third house on the left.
Yeah.
Go get this donkey. If the guy says, what are you doing? You say, the Lord has need of it. And that's like not some mystical thing. It's like, Jesus arranged this, guy.
Sure.
We're the guys he sent.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think he lived like that, well, more often than he didn't. It was really the exception, which doesn't answer your question, I guess. Why wouldn't he? Oh, I'm hungry. Sandwich.
Yep.
But then where does that stop? And then are you actually experiencing what it's like to be a human at all? And I don't think you do. Because if I could get a sandwich whenever I wanted, I'd just chuck them at cars, just making them when I'm not even hungry, just to do it. Because that's absolutely how we would behave.
Yeah.
But, probably there's some abuse in there, and this is why Jesus is Jesus.
Is Jesus, and we're not.
Yeah, exactly.
Therefore,
exactly.
That is it, right? And again, that's why Superman and Yoda and kind of all those overpowered figures are that are out there. Kids call that OP, I think. That when those figures are out there, from a writer standpoint, it's hard to figure out. Well, how do you write that? How do you write that character? How do they do that? It is what makes Jesus so fascinating. He doesn't always fit our expectations, because you're thinking, well, man, if I'm writing the story, I wouldn't do that. I mean, he would do this, he would do that. He's out in the desert for 40 days. He's got no food. He's being tempted by the devil. There's a clear end to that story, and it is not with him.
Circling vultures.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah. And, you say that, and what did they do? Creators of Superman, creators of Wonder Woman, what did they do with these overpowered characters? They gave them really classic weaknesses, right? So Superman has his kryptonite. Wonder Woman, I think if a man tied her wrists up, she lost all her powers. They've gone away from that lately.
That's the
Aquaman could only be out of water for an hour.
Yeah, a certain amount of time.
Hour.
Right.
He's got to be drinking. That's why he had his.
That's right. That's
Curious
why he had his Curious Faith mug at all time.
Or he died. He literally died. Green Lantern, no yellow. And Jesus, I guess.
Because that's the oddest one, right?
Right.
Wow. Oh, no, yellow.
Yeah.
But they had to come up with something.
Yeah, the original Green Lantern would, right? So number 2 pencil. Death, kill them both. Kill them both. And I think, if you could call it a weakness, Jesus' compassion.
Oh, yes.
That's the thing that keeps him from all of these things. I was just reading through the Passion account, and Mark, it's just so brutal. Come down. He's saved others. Let him save himself. And the irony there is that, dude, if he does, then he can't save others.
That's the whole story. That's the story right there.
And to sit there listening to it, I mean, only God could listen to that and continue to save him.
Yeah.
Just ignore the taunts from the people that you're saving.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. As you're hanging on that cross,
Yes.
this horrible, awful death, one of the worst known to man.
Humiliating.
Yeah.
You know?
In all fashion. And yet in that moment to be like, no, I still choose this for you.
Right.
For
right.
you.
Without the strength to even explain it to people who wouldn't understand it if you did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, there you go. Our money's on Jesus then over Yoda.
It is.
All right. All right.
It is.
I think that keeps us out of the heresy world too.
And I thought ever so briefly about that. The things that guys were fighting over, one of the first heresies, and I don't want to go like hard into this, but the whole Arius thing where he said that the Son is less than the Father, and everybody votes against him, and he's kind of out of the club.
Yeah.
I think, man, you just couldn't have understood Jesus's message about the one who serves being, that's how you become great. Mm-hmm. To have this argument, even to have to respond to that, means that I don't think you're listening. I don't think you're really paying attention to say, no, they're equal. They're equal. A claim that I don't know that the Father or the Son really would ever feel like they need to make.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And the fact that it gets to that, that's the real issue, right? I don't think that the thought police are going to pull up and bust us for, even if I was saying stuff that is flat out heresy, because I don't want to proclaim this is it. I know for certain this is the way that it is. There's things that I'm sure about.
Yeah.
But I try to limit those.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're curious about a thing, even if you feel strongly about a thing, surely you can still listen to somebody else, have some ideas. Yeah.
Right.
Why do you think that way?
Yeah.
It's when it just becomes dogma. That's when we get dangerous.
Yeah. And again, to plug the podcast, I mean, like, really, I have so many more interesting conversations with people outside of the faith or who have left the faith or are thinking about the faith than with people usually in the faith, because either one, they're too afraid to ask a question, because they're worried about what the response will be, or they've got it locked in. It's done, man. I've got this figured out.
I figured that out so long ago.
Yeah. So why are we talking about it now? I do. I love questions that other people are asking, because it gets me to think about stuff maybe I've never thought of or haven't thought about in a long way or in a different way. And that's a ton of fun. I will say again, in all honesty, it is one of the reasons why I like you and I'm friends with you, and I keep asking you back on this, because you seem to have a similar passion to do the same thing. So, well,
thank you, and you too. If you can't, I think you told the story about friends of yours who you reached some disagreement and they thought that meant, well, we can't be friends anymore. You had to say, no, that's incorrect.
That's right.
we actually need to continue to be friends because of this.
Exactly.
Yeah. Good answer.
Very good. Anything that we didn't get to here? Our time's about up. Yeah.
I'm sure a ton, but nothing I can think of. My brain's empty.
There you go. Very good. Excellent. Thank you. Thanks for coming back.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
We'll do this again. Yeah, one of these times, an even deeper dive into comic book lore and movie.
Look forward to that.
Yeah, that'll be a good time. But until then, we'll close our time for tonight. As always, again, thank you so much. Hope that this sparks some thought for you, sparks some questions for you. I hope that it might lead you into a conversation about who Jesus was and what he could do and why he did that. If that's a conversation you want to have with me or with Mike or with someone else, I hope you find that person, because that is why we do what we do. And with that, we are all wrapped up for this week. Thank you so much for listening or for watching, wherever format you're finding us in, and we'll see you back here next week. Bye-bye.